Jeff from Home Renovision. Today we are here to talk about contractors, how to use them, how to buy them, how to get them to do the job, how to make sure they're finished before they run out of money. Top 5 pieces of advice on the internet we're going to share today. And then we're going to tell you 5 of the major mistakes in my experience and that hitting the news lately. All right. Here's the recent ways that contractors are taking advantage of folks. We'll talk about those 5 mistakes. And then we're also going to talk about my number 1 rule for success when dealing with contractors. Let me premise all of this by saying I am not an anti-contractor. I used to be one. Okay. I have a firm belief that at least 9 out of 10 guys out there that are in the contracting business, and when I say guys, I'm inclusive. I mean men and women, want to just do a good job, get paid, go home, pay their bills, take care of their families. Okay. That's the social contract that we're in. But social contract doesn't cut it when it comes to dealing with contracting because you actually have a contract. And so there's a lot of nuances in dealing with contracting. We want to get into them. So let's go through the top pieces of advice, how to protect you against the people that are in this industry who are not there with your best interests in mind. Shall we say that? Okay. Now, if you're a contractor, you're going to want to listen to this because there's a lot of great advice out there of things that you might be doing that you may not be aware are setting people on fire in their spidey sense. All right. And you might want to change some of the way you do business. So this is a great way for everybody to learn something through someone else's mistakes. All right. Did the job for 30 years, signed a lot of contracts, been through some pain. We're not going to talk about my problems today, though. We're talking about what's going on in the marketplace right now. Top 5 pieces of advice. Get referrals. God, it's so boring. No matter where you go, they all say this, get referrals, right? Referrals are something that happened yesterday. Make sure they're licensed. Well, if they're licensed, they did that yesterday. Make sure they're insured. If they're insured, they did it yesterday. You see what I'm saying here? Check out the reviews of yesterday. All of those things are like looking in a rearview mirror. It's like investing in the stock market. And you want to find somebody who's been successful because, well, they're going to be successful in the future. That's not a predictor of success. Okay. Past success is not a predictor of future success because you can identify the liars and the thieves just with an interview, right? You can basically take care of them with a couple of rules we're going to give you in a minute. But it's the contractors who are in that place in life where they're on the edge. And maybe they got home and there's a note on the pillow saying, sorry, honey, I took the kids left and I took all your money and you're up a creek without a paddle. That's the guy. Does he have the integrity to go to the clients and say, I'm having this struggle. Here's the situation. Let's work this together. Or does he say, I need to buy more materials. I need another check. All right. So the deposit's a big issue. Number 5 advice you get, deposit, keep it to 10%. Don't give them more than that. Later on in my little rant here, I'm going to explain how the money flows with contractors so you understand what and when and how much money you should be giving them. Because it's key. Because a good contractor is never broke. Let me say that again. A good contractor is never broke. And if you're a contractor out there and you're broke, get out of contracting because you're going to hurt somebody. Okay, you're causing a lot of stress for yourself, which means your character is being impeded when you're at home with your family and you're making their lives miserable too. If you have no money, get out of contracting and get a job working in construction, working for a contractor, learn a few more things, get your house in order before you start trying to get other people's houses in order. Make sense? It's not a get rich quick scheme. And if you get into the world and doing a lot of stress and you haven't mastered your own integrity yet, you got no business messing with other people's houses. Now, top 5 mistakes people make. You're going to love this. They give people way too much money as a deposit. Okay. A deposit should be 10%. Industry standard. No one should ask for any more. And I'll tell you why. Because all it is it's the monetary transfer from one party to the next at the signing of a contract that initiates the contract into being activated. Okay. Right? It's putting that quarter in the machine. You pull the trigger and the ball fires off. Now you're playing the game. Right? So that's what that's for. It's not for buying materials. Listen to me. Deposits are not for buying materials. Ever. Next thing you should do, People are guilty of contract omission. Fancy. What does that mean, Jeff? It means that the contractor sat down, pulled out a contract that his lawyer put together with all of his best interests in mind, put it in front of you and said, sign right here. You read it, nothing in there sounds scary, so you sign it. It's not a terrible thing depending on the amount of money that we're talking about, okay? But when you're dealing with a contract, you always have to think, what if this guy turns out to be the spawn of Satan? Like literally, think that way. Bring a gun to the knife fight, all right? You have to read this thing. You got to take it to your own lawyer. Anything over $25,000, if you got a problem, you're in civil court. That's expensive because you got to pay lawyer fees. And when you lose, you pay the other guy's lawyer fees. It's not small claims. So if you're doing a kitchen reno and you don't have a lawyer read a contract, you're a fool. Sorry. Let's all grow up. We're talking about big money here. Now, we got omission, we got negotiation. They don't negotiate the contract. Contractors don't put in there in most cases when to make a payment or how much it should be or where the job should be in the process. They leave it wide open so they can tell you when you got to give them the next check. The biggest thing you see in the news is, well, he came to me and, the job was underway. The demo was done. Some of the framing was going on and he had to buy the cabinets for the kitchen. Okay. Or his contractor needed to get paid or this or that, or in materials, or they had to order the stairs. And the excuses are endless. Do not cut people checks unless the contract says it's time to get paid. Be part of that process determining when that time is. And if you can't come together to come into agreement, there is no contract, which means you're still looking for a contractor. Okay? It's that simple. You don't have to sign with the first guy that shows up and makes his appointment just because 4 out of 5 guys don't even call back. Right? Don't be desperate. Here we go. The biggest mistake, number 5, that clients make is they don't visit the current client. Remember how I started off talking about all these other things that the world says, oh, check the referrals. It's all in the rearview mirror. It's yesterday. Okay, you can't drive forward looking behind you. You got to go find out, okay, part of your negotiation for your contract is, and I need the address to the job that you're working right now so I can go talk to the homeowners, see how things are going. I want to know that your life didn't turn upside down on you yesterday. I want to make sure that you don't need my money to finish their job. I want to find out if they're a victim right now. Contractor who won't let you visit them on site. I was proud of my work. And if anybody wanted to come visit me on my site, it was like, please, by all means, come by. I was clean. I was tidy. Clients were happy. Referral right there on the spot. Okay. Yeah. Because, if you've upset your client, you don't want anybody coming by because they're going to be like, oh, yeah, seemed like a nice guy, but nobody showed 3 days last week. They're going to tell you the bloody truth. All right. Like, let's face it. When you go to a restaurant, you can look online for reviews. You see mostly people who really enjoyed it or people had a hell of a bad experience. Everybody else didn't care enough to bother making a review. But majority of people that post a negative review, there's 10 more like them who just didn't take the time to say anything. All right. So a positive review is hard to get. But a negative review usually has 10 more upset people in the underlying current. Think about that. Now, yeah, my number 1 rule for success, okay? It's all about looking forward. It's about understanding how to put a contract together that you can both manage. So you don't have to worry about their past history, success, failures, whatever. It's about, you're going to do this, and you're going to get to this level of completion and you get paid. If a guy's doing a job for 1 day, you don't give him money up front. You pay him at the end of the day. You go for dinner, you order off the menu, you get drinks, you blah, blah, blah. They bring a bill when you're done. It's reasonable expectation that at the end of the meal, you're going to get paid. People with no money don't go out for dinner, usually. So the odd time it happens, oh, well, it happened. All right. But when it comes to contracting, generally speaking, if you're there for more than a week, you need a deposit up front and you pay at the end of the week. If it's more than a month, you might have to make a payment in the middle. Okay. Also, you want to know what he's doing with your money. A, does he have employees or is he doing subcontracting? Okay. If he has employees, he has payroll every 2 weeks. So it's not unreasonable to expect to make a payment every 2 weeks. But if he has all subcontractors working for him, you best be careful because subcontractors have this wonderful ability to do a lien on your property. Okay. Which means they've done work, they've invoiced the general contractor. If they haven't got paid, after 30 days, they can go and assign their name as a debtor on your mortgage so that until they get paid, you don't get your money. That also has a negative effect on your credit report. So it's hard to get another mortgage the next time, isn't it? So when you're in this situation, find out who the subcontractors are, have open communication with them as well. All right. Make sure that they're getting taken care of. And at the end of the contract, if you have subcontractors involved, it's normal to have a 10% holdback on the contract for 30 days, which is the window of opportunity for them to say, hey, I'm going to put a lien on if I don't get paid. So you have money to pay the subcontractors. Now, if they're all subcontractors, you might want to negotiate. Oh, you're using subcontractors. Well, I'm going to hold 20% back until I see some invoices paid. Or I want to have the ability to get it in writing that they've been paid. I need to be able to communicate with them myself. Something, okay? You negotiate what works best for you. But here's the deal. Contractors, the good ones, they have credit. They're business entities, right? They're not broke. And so when they go out to go shopping for your job, they go to a company where they have an account. Okay. So let's say I'm a contractor and I'm doing a bathroom. All right. And I need a tub, I need a toilet, I need a shower, I need a shower system, I need a sink, faucet, vanity, all of this. Here's the deal. In that environment, all of those fixtures, he doesn't pay for up front. It's on his account, and it's a net 30 account from when they arrive. Okay? So those products should already be delivered to your house before you're invoiced to pay for them. And at least then they're on property. Is that making any sense? We don't want people being victims of charlatans. Good contractors have credit. Good contractors have good relationships. Good contractors aren't always looking for an electrician. So you don't go 3-4 days waiting for the electrician to show up because he's the new guy and he hasn't got a good relationship yet. So he doesn't really owe him any favors. Okay? And here's the biggest thing, guys. If you're going to get a contractor, and I know we're a DIY channel, and there's a reason for that. There's fewer and fewer contractors around that fit the bill that I'm describing. Okay? There's a lot of guys who are young and in the installing business who are trying to become contractors, don't have their house in order, don't have the money, don't have the credit, don't have the account set up, don't have the relationships, don't have the experience. All right? Been working for other people, haven't had to deal with people before. Wow, holy cow, what do you mean there's more than one personality type? I thought everybody was the same. Come on, like seriously. It's a very confusing world out there as they're trying to learn and develop all those skills. And if their finances aren't in order and their relationships aren't in order, that's the wrong time to be experimenting with your house. So if you don't want to have to deal with all this mess, wait for the contractor who's available to do the job. And if you're in a market where your house isn't worth enough money to get a qualified contractor in there, and you want to roll the dice on some young guy, fine, but negotiate your contract. Make sure they're getting paid upon completed work that's been signed off, been permitted, been inspected, okay? Because you can expect in business, in this environment, you could screw up and be minus 10%. Contractors expect it all the time to not get paid the last 10%. If you both have an expectation of I could get screwed 10%, or there's problems all the time where the contractor didn't get paid, but the client didn't feel they got enough service, right? Or the quality wasn't good enough, and they both are upset. This happens. But don't let it get out of control where you become a victim, where you don't have enough money left to finish the job. Okay? That's all I'm saying, right? Manage the job before it starts, not after it hits the fan. Okay? And they'll be successful. Now, baby. Big news tonight. Michelle's in the table here helping me out. Arthur jumped in here. They've been having a conversation. He's been mentioned something here about. Okay. So Arthur's into it in a basement for over $50,000. Electrical safety problems, framing not right. Erector pump not right. Draining, venting. 200 sheets of Type X sitting where waiting. Contractor decided to walk. Okay. So, yeah, Arthur, here you go. Let's take a look through this. You're $50,000 in on a $90,000 job, right? Okay. So, I'm just going to go through what I would have expected to see on the job like this as the contractor. Okay. 10% deposit. I got $9,000 to start. Okay. I bring in a framer. Now, you're doing electrical and plumbing. There's a permit on this, I'm assuming, right? Are we fresh in the comments? Okay. If you got a permit on this, the framing is finished, then you call a framing inspector. There's a framing inspection. Okay? This is how you protect yourself. Nobody else comes in. All right. So you got framing inspection. Well, why do you have framing not right if you had a framing inspection? Shouldn't that have been identified and solved right out of the gate? And maybe it's some minor issues, maybe some back framing. I get it. And then you have electrical, and then you have and you have plumbing, but then you get inspections. What was the reason the contractor said he needed another $41,000 for if none of these things are done in past inspection? Now, that's a big basement too. 200 sheets of Type X. I get it. But you know what? 200 sheets of Type X changed after. Yeah, got it. Okay. So you're making changes. So the other biggest problem with contracting is when you're doing a renovation, you got to have a plan. You got to stick to your plan. The minute you start changing the plan, it costs a fortune. Everybody wants to charge you for a work order, change order, okay? And they want those paid up front right away because it's too hard to do the math. So you can really get into trouble. All right. Yeah. So here's the deal. If I was a contractor, I would expect to have $9,000 in my pocket. I would finish the framing and I would have identified how much that's worth. And I would say, okay, I passed frame inspection, pay me. I passed electrical, pay me. I passed plumbing, pay me. The moment that the drywall is all installed on the wall, you're halfway through a project. So having it delivered into the basement doesn't mean squat to me. There's no way on a $90,000 job you should be over $45,000 until that drywall is at least installed. Because in a lot of cases, since you're using Type X, you might be doing like a secondary living or some fire separation issues. You need to have that inspected as well before the mud work gets done. And that passing your drywall installation, that's where you say, okay, here you're up to 45. All right. I'm thinking, Arthur, you probably are just like every other homeowner out there. The contractor says, pay me or else I walk. But you didn't establish a contract with a payment expectation program. And this is why it happens. It's tough. At least you've got the mechanical and the framing done and the product is on the floor. So you're probably only out about, I would say, 10 or 15 to hire the drywallers, right? Anyway, sorry that happened to you. But in the future, people learn from Arthur's mistake and thousands and tens of thousands like him. Set up a payment plan, okay, and make sure you pass inspection and you follow the payment plan. And if there's going to be changes, know how those changes are in far as payment are concerned, okay? All right, here we go. Yay, litigation. Yeah, well, hopefully it's you stay in the small claims court section because that can get bloody expensive and it's not worth anybody's time. Anyway, Arthur, watch our videos. Learn how to do your own drywall and taping. You'll save a fortune, buddy. It'll take less time to do your own drywall than to go through all that stress of going through litigation. I'll tell you that right now. All right. Guys, we're going to open up the questions today. Listen, I know it did a little backwards, but Arthur was in there with something really relevant. I want to really answer questions today for anybody who is got a question related to the subject matter. Let's try to stay focused. But if you got a renovation question, hit me up. We actually only have members in the chat. If you're watching the live show, welcome. My name's Jeff from Home Renovision DIY. I'm a 25-year seasoned veteran general contractor, and I make videos to teach people how to renovate for themselves because who can afford a contractor nowadays? In most cases, a little bit of training and the right tools, really. With some good training, you can be just as good as any contractor out there, and in most cases, even better, because the most important tool a contractor has in his toolbox is his integrity. And that's something they don't teach in school. And if it's your house, you're more likely to employ that situation, which is good. Now, cheers to all of our members. Michelle, we're not going to go through the whole list. That's fine. If you have a question and you're not a member and you want to get an answer for it, then by all means do a super chat. And that's just a fancy way of saying throw some money in the tip jar, ask your question along with it, and we'll try to answer those best we can. Otherwise, everybody in the comment section is a member. Welcome. Great to have you here with us. Thank you so much for all your support. Let's go through some more questions here. We got Slack with 2Ks. Loving it. Wants to know if there's any tips on getting a contractor for window exterior door replacement. Yeah, there's a couple. You can Google search for the window suppliers in your area, and most of them will have a short list of contractors that they will refer. Okay, that is a great way to do it. If you don't know where to go, that's a great start. In a lot of cases, guys in that scenario are going to be a little more reasonable because they like to get those continual referrals, and you can have them bid against each other on those jobs. Okay, there we go. Jesse wants to know, I have a question. We are demoing our kitchen. We have 2 subfloor floors separated by sheet and linoleum. 1940s house, 600 staples in the sheet and linoleum. Yes, that means there are 600 staples to remove. What you're going to see is that back then they used a 1/4-inch ply and they stapled that into your actual subfloor. And so that whole sheet of subfloor with all those staples, you can lift it right off and throw it in the garbage because it has no value as far as integrity or the strength of that floor for any other future assembly. So always go back to the original subfloor. And sometimes, I'm down in Florida. I'm in Florida working on my mobile home, guys. The new project we're filming. And we opened up, they found out they're on their second carpet and they use about 8 million staples as well. And I'm pulling the darn things and it is work. But sometimes it's just dirt, right? It's work. Cheers to Chicago. What was your nightmare client like, Jeff? Well, I've lost sleep more than twice. Let's just put it that way. It all comes down, managing expectation is a big thing. And I learned my opinion here from experience, and those experiences have led me to this point. When I was young in contracting, I didn't have anybody teaching me this kind of wisdom. When I was young getting into contracting, baby boomers still ruled the world, right? They were still the contractors. They had the biggest businesses, the nicest trucks. They had the organization. They had all the relationships. Anybody who's subbing out work, you couldn't get a good commercial contract to save your life back in those days because they're all scooped up by guys who would sit there and drink beer together and play golf together. And it was a boys club, right? Old boys club. So, you learn a few things as you go along. Like there's more than one personality. Like not having a payment plan can cause an issue with getting paid because the client has a different expectation of how much the work that you've done is worth. Right. And so you got to lay all that out in advance. And so my nightmare clients, there's more than one, and that's fine. Most of them were just people who had a different expectation of what the process should look like than I did. And I was too dumb to realize that we should work that out in advance. Once I learned how to do that, it solved a lot of problems. All right. Do you hold handyman, owner, operator types the same as contractors? Any leniency there? Here's the thing. Handymen, generally, they're in and done in a day or a couple of days. Okay? Not as scary. Your risk there is much lower. And I tell you right now, if you wanted to go to court against a handyman in small claims court, you're going to show up and the judge is going to say, just pay the guy. Okay? That's how he's going to handle that. Oh, okay. And when it comes to owner operator types, yeah, they can still be nightmares because if an owner operator doesn't have any cash, he's still screwed. So make sure you always set up a payment plan. The bigger the job, the bigger the company. It's usually a safe bet. Having said that, we had a company in Ottawa that recently, I would say in the last 2 years, started advertising like mad dogs. Well, we are the company to do business with. They're all over the radio, and that's not cheap, man. If you're advertising on the radio, you are spending money. And I always say, when you hear somebody advertising on the radio, the first 10,000 of every contract goes to that radio ad. Like, it ain't cheap. And they racked up a whole lot of contracts, and they were blowing up on the scene. And I was thinking to myself, who the hell are these guys? I've never heard of them before. And why is there a company in my town that no one's ever heard of before on the radio? Sure enough, a couple years in, boom, they just folded up, walked away with everybody's money. Probably just showed up in like Morocco, paid $1 million, bought a visa, and he's sitting on the other 29 million in cash. Thumbs up to the rest of the world, you know? Anyway, yeah, it happens. It happens. You know, it happens. God, love us. You know, those contractors like that exist, just like there's some dentists that we're not going to talk about. Chocolate. Hey, cheers. Thanks for the Christmas card. Love you. Here we go. Jesse said he spliced an old line wire to new load wires. My pot lights together a new junction box. Can I just mount the junction box on the wall, or do I have to have it flush with the drywall? You need access to a junction box. Where you put it is up to you. If you're using pot lights, there is a secret in the industry. If they're the slim LED that are on that spring-loaded clip, then you can have a junction box buried in the ceiling behind it, because you can take the light fixture out of the drywall and then have access. I know it actually passes code. So that is a great cheat for anybody who's thinking about, I want to reduce my wiring scope of work and have junction boxes in the ceiling. Just put the boxes right above where your pot lights are going to go, and you're allowed to have a junction box there. Crazy, huh? Anyway, I know. The day I learned that, it saved me a lot of money as a contractor. You had to take out the top side of the subfloor because it was rotting from water leak. Originally tile, cement, wire fence, the whole 9 yards, eh? Oh, yeah. You know, sometimes, Jesse, when you're peeling back the layers, it's not pretty. You're going to appreciate. I'm working on a bathroom right now. I'm going to just spill the beans because you're my members and I love you guys. So there's the shower that built in 1985. And when they put this place together, whoever went underneath to connect the plumbing went, it's the wrong size, and never bothered. And so it was just raining for the last 40 years. And so when I pulled out the shower, I found rotten joists. I found bug larvae. I found the subfloor had been compromised. There's mold on all the walls. Everything was just rotted out. And you know what? Sometimes you open up a mess. It's just the way it is. So just keep on being diligent and going back to the beginning, because it'll pay dividends. And when you go to redo and move forward from a demolition process, even if it's painful, you'll be glad you did it, because trying to tie in all that old mess with new and get any kind of good result is a lot trickier than just taking out the old. All right. Thanks for my advice about opening a contractor account. You're welcome. Finally, someone who did what I said. You found a flooring company you liked. Wham, bam, 1 email later, and I have a 12% discount and free samples. I know. And if you missed that one a couple weeks ago, it's on our page. There's me in a big circle saying, don't shop at the box stores, because, well, let's just face it, they're selling convenience. And if what you're looking for is a good deal, that's the wrong place to shop. There are better deals out there. I recently opened up a paint account at Sherwin-Williams right here in this local city. Walked in, said, hey, I'm a contractor and need a paint account. And they took my particulars, no different than opening up a Netflix account. And then they said, what kind of paint do you want us to price for your account? Now follow my process here, because they have more than one line. I said, I'm not familiar. I'm from Canada. I'm usually do Dulux. And then they said, well, here's this line, this line, this line, explain the different qualities. I said, well, I don't need your best stuff. Give me this stuff. This will be a good quality paint. It'll get the job done. How much is it? Guess what they said? I got 40% off retail. Didn't even show them a business card. They didn't even clue who I was. 40% off all my interior, 40% off my exterior, and 40% off of early special primer I need to work in here. That means that my interior paint, which is 100% acrylic and washable, is $38 a gallon. Now, when I go to Home Depot, not even close. Okay, the closest paint and quality on Home Depot shelf is almost $60 for the same product. And I don't even like using Behr because I find it too thick. But the point is irrelevant. I'm getting $38 a gallon. I didn't promise and sign away that I'm going to renovate 20 houses this year. I just said I want to open up a commercial account. Guess what? It wasn't even a credit account. It was a cash account, which means it's like going to the store. You want paint, they mix it, you buy it, you leave. Problem solved. Everybody in the world should open up a paint account and stop shopping for paint at Home Depot. You're paying 50% more than you need to. Next, Josh, how should I cover my 1925 plaster acoustic? You know what's funny? Here I am giving you the greatest secret in the world to save money, and I'm not holding it in my pocket waiting for an opportunity where I can cash in on it. God, hurts being a nice guy. How should I cover my 1925 plaster acoustic? Yeah, not flat. Got it. Thinking like a pan. I'm bored. Don't want to scrape it off. Well, 1925 plaster. You shouldn't be covering. Okay? Rip it out. It's not going to last forever. One of these days, it's going to fall off and kill somebody. So just get rid of it. There's no reason to cover it. Look at it this way. If you get rid of it, you can put insulation in there, soundproof. If you get rid of it, you got an opportunity to rewire some stuff. Because in 1925, you probably need to rewire some stuff. I would just drop it. Like it's garbage. When you have garbage in your home, get rid of it. Right? Like you don't leave the garbage from dinner laying around until you can't walk down. Get rid of it. It's garbage. And if you don't want to get garbage out, then grab yourself a drywall lift and grab drywall compound, okay? And grab yourself a tile trowel, all right? 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch, and trowel on drywall mud. Lift the drywall up right into the ceiling, all right? And use drywall laminating screws. And you can screw that ceiling right to the old ceiling. That's the other thing you can do, but I would just get rid of it. All right. Oh, yeah. Sarah's got to hire an electrician to add an amp, wiring, and outlet. In Arizona, stick and stucco home. What you do expect and things to look for when hiring the guy. What you should expect is you might not be able to get somebody for a little while. They're going to fit you into their schedule. Okay. They're also going to show up, and you want to hire somebody who has a designation with your electrical safety authority where they can pull a permit and they don't have to be inspected. So contact your electrical safety and say, do you have such a thing? I'm not sure about Arizona. In Ontario, we do. So there's a different designation for an electrician who doesn't need inspections. And they've earned this right by being inspected so many times they've graduated through the ranks. An electrician like that can show up, cut the holes, run the wire, finish it, and make the service live, then call in and say, I just did a job at such and such an address, and leave, and not have to make a second trip. The second trip is what costs the most money because they double charge. So if you want to get a good deal, get an electrician who's got the experience and the credibility with the regulator so that you don't have to have them come back. And that's the way you do it. Otherwise, they got to do the rough in, get inspected, and then come back and do the final. So it's 2 trips. A second trip across town, he's going to charge $150 for it, let alone the time that he spends there. So find someone who can do it in one shot. Yeah. If you're going to go through all the hassle of pulling on an old tile job and you got linoleum, get rid of it. Get rid of it. There's no value to you. Okay, good. Oh, I lost you, baby. Are there any contractors who are notorious for problem points? Some to watch out for more than others. Oh, like different trades, you mean? Oh boy. No, this isn't the thing. It's just not a thing. I think the only place where you got historical issues are guys in the insurance restoration business after a disaster. People are already stressed, they're victimized, and then you swoop in like a white knight promising the world, and they're happy to cut a check to get things done. And that's probably the most dangerous. Thomas just wants to say thanks. He's at the trim and finish phase of an 1870 total reno by himself, except for tape and mud. Cannot done it without you, thanks. Cheers, Tom. Congratulations. And you know what? Good on you for realizing that tape and mud is not your forte, and you paid somebody else to do it. There's nothing wrong with that. Not everybody can do everything, right? Some things require a little more skill or finesse or patience or redoing the work the second time, and that's awesome. Here we go. Rebel Marksman. That's awesome. Jeff bought a house last in August, and your videos helped me so much. I have to pay for my wedding this October, and I have saved a ton by watching you. Well, congratulations. So does that mean I'm invited to the wedding? ah, yeah, I'm not bad guy to have at a wedding. I'll probably bring a present and everything. All right. And then we got Gabe Nava just did a super chat. He's already a member. I don't even see a question, just throwing us some love. Cheers for that, Gabe. Appreciate it, buddy. Did I ever mention that I'm down here in Florida on a work visa because of you guys? It is the members of this channel that make this possible. I know, there's lots of talk out there about I must be some gazillionaire because I'm on YouTube. But the truth is, this is an expensive bloody business to be in, right? We've got full-time staff of 5 or 6. We got subcontractors. We got to buy properties and buy materials and renovate. And I don't take sponsorship deals, generally speaking, very lightly because I don't want to be in anybody's pocket. I want to be able to sit here and shoot off my mouth and tell you guys the truth. And so if you're in the business and you want to sponsor our channel, feel free to have a conversation, but it's got to be something that I'm really down to do, right? I don't like being told what to do. I like doing what needs to be done. Anyway, enough said about that. Alessandro Chan, would you be able to answer HVAC? I can do a lot about HVAC. I can't assemble it worth a darn, but I know a lot about the system. You got water dripping sound in the wall. We figured it out. It was from the return metal vent. Okay. We do have a humidifier, but it doesn't help even we shut it down. You mean a dehumidifier? You got a condensation issue? Yeah, it all depends where you live. If when you're pumping heat into a house, if you've got a cold area and you've got that heat blowing up right next to it, you're going to get condensation. Sometimes you got to wrap your cold air return duct around your furnace just so that you can have a good separation there, especially if you got a hot air vent in the furnace room. So double check. Usually what it is, it's a combination of hot and cold condensing moisture out of the air. Okay. So if you need to insulate the cold area so that they can't connect together, and that should solve the problem. Existential Saint said, Existential Saint, I love it. Said he got 40% off paint at PPG. Yeah. And 20% off sundries. That's the other part. People with accounts. Sundries means everything else in the store. So you get a good deal, right? That's a great way to do it. Ty, hey, my house is in Overbrook, Ottawa. Built in 58, finished in the basement, under the tile, glued to the concrete. And there was some lime leaching from beneath. Drycore panels or Durafoam. Okay, if it's 1958, you can't go Durafoam. You got to go Drycore. You want to get the panel that actually has the tracks in it that allow air to move. Okay, and you want that air to find its way to the outside wall, to somewhere else where air is moving. If you can't get it to the outside wall where air is moving because your walls are all finished, then bring it up to the drywall, cut the drywall short so it's higher than your finished floor, and install your baseboards with 1/8 of an inch gap. So under your floor shares the air with the room. Okay? That way it'll stay dry. All right, cheers. Joe wants to know, is it worth the hassle to be your own GC and hire out the individual trades yourself on a task-by-task basis? Get a structural engineer, carpenter, plumber, electrician. Yeah, okay, so here's the deal. This is a great question. We're going to spend a minute here. I need another drink first because I'm talking a mile a minute. And I was filming today, so I was already talking like 10 miles. If you want to be your own GC, there's 2 things that you don't know. One, when they screw up, in a lot of cases. But the second is, you don't have a personal relationship with any of these guys. Okay. So there's 2 kinds of GCs out there. The guys that sign the contracts and then look for the labor. And these are traditionally jobs where no one shows up on the job for days at a time because they have an ordered schedule. And until the electrician comes, until he comes, finally he shows up. That's the program. If you want to live that life of having guys constantly say, I know I'm supposed to be there in 5 minutes, but I can't make it today. That's the phone call that's going to ring on your phone every day of your life as a GC in this marketplace. Okay. Because the trades aren't looking for work. Now, when the trades are looking for work, being your own GC is a great gig. But right now, you're on that balance. Depending, I think geography might have a lot to do with it, because there's a lot of upsetting in the market, and there's geographical influences. Like some states are having a rough time and some aren't. So depending where you are, okay. But at the end of the day, depending on your personality and your character and how much time you have to be on the job, being present and managing people might be easier for you than managing the guy that's supposed to manage the job from a company that you hire who's never on site, right? A lot of companies have a foreman or some kind of a project manager who's there once or twice a week for half an hour. They don't see nothing, and all you get is mistakes and callbacks. So if you want to minimize the problems and you're around, then you can work hand in hand with that guy, or you could try doing it yourself. But like I said, in this marketplace, knowing people is half the battle. So when you're hiring trades, start with the electricians, okay, and ask them who they know, because they bumped into the same guys so many times it's not even funny. They got like networks, and you can even grease them a little bit and say, hey, thanks for all the referrals, okay, and that makes them a friend, and then the rest of that crew will be accountable to that relationship that they've all got, right? So that's one way you can kind of bend that a little, but it's tough. It's work. It's an adventure. All right. Mike says, hey, Jeff, cheers from North Carolina. Can you do a video showing basics for rewiring an older house and what can be DIY versus must get an electrician? That is like the toughest job in the world out there, because every state has different rules about what you can do. Now, I did do a video about wiring my kitchen in the farmhouse. I did a video wiring my bathroom in my farmhouse. And I did those because they were somewhat basic installations, and a lot of jurisdictions will let someone do that on their own permit. Yeah, maybe, but I can't do it here because I'm in Florida and you got to be a licensed electrician to touch anything. So I'm cheating. I'm using kills on all of my light switches just to make them white so I can change from the old brown color to the white color on the trim finish. All right. But yeah, that's a great idea. You know what might even be better is if there's anybody out there who's an electrician on YouTube and you got a YouTube channel, contact me. Because that's an opportunity. We're actually going to be doing a lot more live shows, and we've got technology now where I can bring guests on. So maybe that's a great idea. We can bring on an electrician, we can bring on a plumber, and we can bring on a structural engineer, and we can do all that together as a team. It might be a lot more fun. Jeff, which line in Sherwin did you choose? I'm wanting to paint my kitchen cabinets, and I'm overwhelmed on what line to use from them. I want to use a sprayer, but I will roll if I have to. If you're going to use paint for your kitchen cabinets, my recommendation is still C2. Go to our video about my kitchen cabinet in the church. Follow the link. I got a 20% discount code for you, and they'll ship it direct to you if you live in the United States. Kiana, that is the best paint I've ever used in my entire life. Okay, C2 is all right for most situations, but for kitchen cabinets, I'm doing that job here. I'm still buying C2. I don't care. I'm going to have it shipped down. That's just the bottom line. Nothing beats that paint as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion. June Cleavers repressed. Oh my. Thank you for the love, June. Howdy, getting ready to lay a gravel driveway for the first time. Any thoughts on using a fabric base versus just doing an initial layer of stone and crush and run for long-term stability? Well, June, yeah, I'm a big fan of having the geotextile. It helps with the water runoff and for weed control. So if you're going to be excavating away all of your black dirt and you're going to get down to something else, then throwing geotextile is definitely a benefit. You just can't argue the benefit of that science. What it does is it helps to run the water through the gravel left and right of the driveway. So even when it's saturated in water, it's not the soil underneath the gravel that's saturated. And it helps to extend the life by not getting those grooves to the tire grooves, okay? And so definitely worth the money. All right. Cheers. All right. Jean-Sebastien, I like you, but in our town, every electrician known to go to Home Depot for 14.2 wires. Since the pandemic, they can't compete against Home Depot. Local is around 360 versus 288. You know, it's funny because one of the things that's funny about Home Depot is a lot of their building materials are actually priced just as well as some of the commercial suppliers. Like drywall, for instance, plumbing has the same issue. The plumbing pipes, the PEX, the ABS, the CPVC, the Schedule 40, the 14.2 wire, the 14.3 wire, all these basic building materials. Yeah, because Home Depot loves contractors in there. Because you know what contractors do? They spend money and they buy everything else they want, whether it's a good deal or not, because they're shopping for convenience too. So as homeowners, you can get a good deal on drywall and electrical and plumbing. Whereas if you go to a plumbing or electrical supplier, they actually overcharge you until you've got an account history proven, right? And then they start giving you discounts. So it's a bit of a pain in the butt. But yeah, and I've had lots of situations, like especially during the pandemic, right? You couldn't find pipe because the plumbers, everybody was out. So they just robbed all the stores. They just bought it all. As soon as they heard the news that ABS was going to go out of stock, every plumber in town took their truck to the local store and bought everything on the shelf, and they bought their next year's inventory. And well, that didn't solve the cause of the problem at all, did it? It's kind of like the toilet paper fiasco from a couple years ago. Anyway, Amanda wants to know how you get green board in the United States. Don't know. I haven't looked. I knew they do sell the pink board, which is better because green is kind of like a water resistant, but there's no mold control. Where the pink board has both. So, just up the game and get the good stuff. Sure Aquatic says, I was going to call Schluter tomorrow, but since you're here, what are the applications for Curdy membrane versus Curdy board? Well, membrane is designed to go over top of some other substrate, and Curdy board is the membrane and the substrate. And that's really the whole thing right there. The difference is Curdy board is so rigid that you can wet shim Curdy board onto the wall and level the wall while you're installing the Curdy board. Can't do that with drywall. So for my money, I go one step, costs about the same money to drywall and Curdy board, time, labor, materials, cement, with the added benefit of you can take that rigid board and you can put thin set on the studs. Okay, set the Curdy board into it, tap it into place with a level. Make sure you're perfectly plumb, and then put a couple of screws in to hold it until it dries. And the thin set actually bonds to the backside of the fleece. And then the next day, you can go in and add all your other screws and have a perfectly plumb shower. The benefit there is when you go to tile, you don't have any slivers showing up. You don't have any slopes. That's why I love the Curdy board. Next. Yinzer House. That's right. We're coming to us from Pittsburgh. Jeff, did your Florida bathroom water feature show many signs of problems ahead of time? 0. None. Because they were kind enough to cut massive holes in the floor underneath the shower. So most of the water just poured out, but it did go over the joist and then did splash up onto the wall, up onto the floor. And because underneath the building was so wet all the time, that moisture rose up and it created moisture in the drywall issue. Didn't even see it coming. Yeah. Hey. Oh, XGX13XGX says he was a member a while back and now back as a member. Thank you so much, Jeff. Cheers, my man. Listen, people come and go. I get it. No hard feelings. I'm just here to help. And this is how we do it the most effectively. All right. And if you've got the time and ability to help support our channel and we can do other things to help you in return, then that what makes the love go round. It's just a social contract, right? Help me help you. Help me help you. That's really what it is. All right. Travis, what does a contractor have to prove to file a lien? He says you hired a contractor from hell for septic install and wants more money than agreed on and threatened a lien. Okay. Well, here's where you're getting into some really sketchy area. I can't answer this as a legal. I'm not a lawyer. Okay. But I do have this experience. If the contract is fulfilled as far as the work is concerned, and then he gives you an invoice for the finished work, and then he puts a lien on your property, you can get a lawyer to then say, no, the work isn't completed. We're filing a lawsuit against you. And they should have a process there to drop the lien or at least put it in suspension until this has been sorted out. There should be a motion that a lawyer can take before a judge to say, hey, this isn't actually done. This is not right. Okay. And then the judge should be able to take that away. But generally, all they got to do is basically say, hey, I've invoiced and he hasn't paid me. It's kind of sketchy. But I'll tell you right now, if you're out there putting liens on people's properties and you haven't done the work, guess who's not going to be licensed and insured and a contractor for very much longer? Yeah, so most guys don't just do that. They don't go that far unless they really are looking for legal trouble, unless they've actually done the work. And if they have, then pay the man. All right. If they haven't, then enjoy that stress. It's kind of like 6 and 1/2 dozen the other. Do you want the stress of paying them, or do you want the stress of fighting with them? You got to make your own decision on that one. But, septic install, Wants more money than agreed on and threatened a lien. Have you paid what was originally agreed on? If you have, you can't put a lien on your property. You had a contract, you paid the contract. If he wants more, I don't care. He can't send you an extra bill and put a lien on that for over and above. That's my experience. I might be wrong. If anybody knows different, then chime in. But sometimes what you need in life, if you're looking for a legal battle, is to bring a lawyer to your knife fight. Okay? Here we go. Question about to redo the floors on the first floor and have a half basement, first and second floor. That's a lot of information. The floor currently has no subfloor like OSB. It is an older house with planks and then carpet. Okay, so you have a subfloor. It's just not a modern subfloor. And where does the question come up? Wondering if I could use OSB right on the plank, then engineered flooring on top. Thinking thin OSB, what are your thoughts? Okay, so here's the thing. The plank wood is like 1x8 or 1x10. It could be perpendicular. It might be on a 45-degree angle, depending on the age of your house. Generally speaking, that wood is dry and it's still strong, but it was all nailed. So what you want to do is you want to screw all that down. And then you want to put something on top of it to make a nice flat surface, like an OSB, like a 5/8, tongue and groove, something cheap, okay? It's a perfect installation. The biggest problem with that old subfloor is it creates a lot of squeaks when the nails aren't screwed next to the nail. Okay, so that's all you got to do. Just screw down the subfloor, then add another layer so you have a nice flat surface to work on, and your engineered hardwood will go like just tickety-boo. You can't install engineered hardwood on those old planks because those nails and the staples you fire in, they split. They won't hold, and they'll start squeaking too. So make sure you screw down the subfloor, screw down your OSB, then you can staple in your engineered hardwood, and you're going to be rocking for 100 years, my man. Yep, 15 on center wood's rough cut. Again, yep, got it. 60s. Yeah, okay, exactly. It's dry. It's dry enough that you can't trust it. Put the engineered right on top. People have tried and failed. Okay, and it's usually too thin for deflection anyway. So if you're going to put the hardwood contrary to your floor joist, you can probably get away with it. But does the wood split when you throw a screw in it? That's ultimately the question. And I mean, you're rolling dice. I would rather screw down a floor that I could trust is going to be lasting as long as the new floor than trust an old subfloor to last twice its expected lifespan. Remember, when we build for 50-year life cycle. That was 2010. It's already past its expectation. Now, you may not want to cut it out because it's too integrated with the rest of the house build. So throw another layer on there and get a good night's sleep. You could probably even just go 1/2-inch ply if that's cheaper. I don't know. But 1/2-inch ply will hold a staple just fine. All right. Whew. Dang, I almost missed this. Happy Saturday, Jeff. Thanks. Stu, you're funny. All right. Okay. And Jamil says he wants to change some old water lines to PEX that are in copper. Got it. But I have some kind of ground wire crimped to the copper line. What should I do? Okay. The ground wire crimped to the copper line should be near the beginning where the copper comes into the house. Okay. Anything after that, you can crimp into PEX, no problem. But you can't go from copper to PEX and then a ground wire. Okay. Because it's actually going to the ground by going to the copper, which goes underneath your slab to the ground. You know what I mean? The other thing you can do is you can take that copper wire and you can run it right outside and you can get a grounding plate and you can hammer that into the ground and then connect the wire there. That's what we did at my farmhouse, and we managed to put a ground on the circuit just by adding a new grounding plate outside, and it saved us a lot of money. So it's just about getting that wire to something that's code compliant into the dirt outside so that it's grounded, hence the word ground. Cheers. Jason cut an interior bathroom door 2 inches too short by mistake. Is there a way to extend it? Yeah, you go down to Home Depot and you rent the door stretcher. Wow. Yeah, that all depends on how creative you're going to be. And what the door is, it hollow? Is it solid core? Like, I would say you're probably better off to save yourself the frustration and buy a new slab. You've learned from your mistake. Measure once, cut twice only works if you cut too long. Cheers, Jason. Fred found that the former owner had used wire nut to cap red wire and outlet when not needed in 2-wire situation and joined wires in a box when wire not long enough. I'm sure both would fail code. I am sure there are about 8 billion examples of code failure on electrical in all of North America. It's not about whether it's code compliant. It's about, was it at the time, and were people allowed to do their own electrical at the time? Never be surprised how sloppy your electrical can be. Okay. Electricians today do fabulous work. We've learned a lot since 1945. You can ask San Francisco. Electrical's pretty safe now. It's really hard to start a fire, regardless of how bad the wiring is. So don't get too worked up over it. That's like saying people shouldn't drive because my taxi driver was a lousy driver. No, there's going to be all kinds of variations of people's skill levels and understanding. And man, back in the day, people used to mess with electrical like they're baking, like learning how to bake a cake. It was crazy the risks people took. I've seen people wire their entire basement for all of their lights, and not pot lights, like regular, like pulling big power with speaker wire. Like, it's the things I've seen. It'll blow your mind. What are my thoughts about OSB overplanked and engineered flooring on top? I think it's a great job. That's a great assembly. Don't even think about the 5/8 that you're losing in the height. Who gives a rip, right? Unless you're 7 feet 11 3/8 tall, another 5/8 ain't gonna make a difference to anybody, right? There you go. Well, Gabe's got a home that was built in 55 with a washer and the dryer in the kitchen. Okay, you want to move them to garage 25 feet away. Okay, shares wall with the living room. No water drainage in garage. Do I go up and over through attic and tap in there? Or, yeah, that's a hell of a thing. You could get a Subfloor pump that will pump your water anywhere in your house you want to go. Okay, so yeah, you can pump it up and over. It'll go 100 feet, and you can run your laundry on that. That'll be just fine. All right. So find the least invasive way to run a water line, and you're looking to run a water line that's 1.5 inches, and you can attach that to a Subfloor pump. Pump costs a couple $100. You got to run a dedicated circuit to it, but other than that, it needs fresh venting. But if you're in a garage, poof, pop that through the roof. You're in business. We just did a series in my church renovation a few months ago. There's a laundry room hookup where we use the Subfloor in the laundry room hookup and go through the whole process of hooking that up. So you can check that out on the site. Go to the little magnifying glass, go laundry hookup church or something for Jeff, and that video is there. Existential Saint says, if I drive down to Florida, will you put me to work? Not yet. I don't have insurance for staff yet. Just me. But I am crazy interested in the idea of being able to have people come and work on the site with me. I think it'd be awesome TV and a lot of fun. But not today, not this year. Anyway, Jeffrey, thanks for the love, brother. Kitchen demo down to the plywood subfloor. Good. Cabinets wrote, have a trap door in the floor to a crawl space. Okay. Should I go glue down, waterproof, engineering wood? Glue down, engineer. No. Never glue anything to subfloor. Okay, subfloor should last the whole lifespan of the home, and every floor you put on that should be able to be removed from it. Okay, so don't do glue down. Use staple down engineered hardwood. All right, staples is the way to go, my man. And you can just trim out like a little picture frame around that trap door and have some fun with it, but don't glue. Glue is for concrete, people who are slob on grade. Okay, and they use a polyurethane glue because it's also a vapor barrier. And that's why they use it. So you get a vapor barrier and an adhesive in one. And so it kind of turns to like a rubbery surface, kind of rubbery kind of texture after it's cured in a little while. But you don't want to go glue. Anytime you're on plywood, you want to use a fastener, not an adhesive. All right. We break it, we fix it. Any luck finding sauna pan in the US? Only for people who are driving it across the border. At this point, no. I'm not going to give a weekly update on that scenario, but we are in touch with sauna pan. So if anything happens, we'll be happy to make an announcement and let you know. John wants to know about to laminate 1/2-inch ply over his newly dropped and reinforced 5/8 ply between the joists. Okay. Small gaps less than an eighth, and too much deflection. No. Small gaps less than 1/8 of an inch. Will this allow too much deflection and break? Depends where the gap is. When you're laminating in between joists, and usually you put in a couple sleepers in the recess so you come up flush to the original joist, but you have a layer of plywood, and then you add another layer of plywood, you're actually laminating those two pieces of plywood together. So the only place you should have a joint on that second layer of plywood is on the joist itself. That's how you get strong and success. If you put a joint in the middle of another layer, you haven't laminated it now. Now you're just transferring up, over, and then back up again. So yes, you'll get deflection. So as long as your joints are on the joists, you're going to be fine. And that's a lot of work too. So congrats for taking the time. You must be going for a nice flush floor without a curb into that shower, huh? Cheers. Chocolate. You got to run. We'll catch the rest on replay. Take care. Love you, darling. See you later. It's 6 o'clock. We got an hour to go if you want to spend the time. So as long as you got questions, I've got answers. Right? We're here to help you out. And if you're just joining us, then by all means, Super Chat is available if you need to reach us, or you can join the membership. We also have a members forum where you can send me pictures and I can look at them and then see about all the little things that you guys are up to and give you advice. Yeah, that's the joy of me being me. I like to see you guys successful. All right. Nothing helps this channel more than all the successful comments and the thanks and the photos. And if you haven't checked it out, go on our Instagram page, guys. Check it out because we can publish the photos there every week. There's another huge success story. It's encouraging to see everybody out there. We're saving people billions of dollars. I don't say that lightly. Billions in your pocket where it's supposed to be. I'm going to stop there before I get all political. Now, Marcus, thanks for all the videos. You literally saved my bacon and billions of dollars. Had to gut a rental property before selling it last year. Yeah, probably saved me thousands upon thousands. Listen. As a DIYer, let me just say this again. I'll say this. It makes me have more authority when I wear glasses. As a DIYer, when you work for yourself on your own home, you increase your property value at a rate of about $200 an hour with no taxes. Think about that. The average project costs $100, $20 as material. You only get return on investment when you hire a contractor 80 cents on the dollar. So the other 60%, the other 60% is your labor. Okay? That's your money. So every time you spend $1,000, you make $3,000 and recover that $1,000. Sink that in. You can put $1,000 on your mortgage, or you can put $1,000 into painting the outside of your house. You paint the outside of your house value goes up 5%. Or you can put $1,000 on the mortgage. What's going to get that mortgage paid down faster? Pay off the $300,000 mortgage, or renovate the house and make it worth $500,000. Sell it and buy another $300,000. Do the same thing. 5 years later, boom, sell it. What mortgage? Okay, you can renovate your way out of a mortgage. This is like 6 to 10 years while you're doing your full-time job. There's no reason you can't do it. I'm just saying. The world's gone crazy. Everybody's scared of the future and blah blah blah. Listen, you can only control what you can control. And you can control what you do with your spare time. You can control what you do with your time, and you can control what you do with your extra money. And that's all the control you got. Invest it in yourself in your own house, DIY it, raise your value, sell the blasted thing, and buy another one and do it again. And do it until you can buy the same house over and over and over. You won't have a mortgage left. You don't have to buy a bigger, better house. Just buy the same thing. Buy it on the same street. Kids don't have to change schools. Most houses in this country are in original condition. It's just true. Go ahead. Jump on Zillow and check it out. It'll blow your mind. There's a house in your neighborhood that's for sale in original condition, and you can take the experience of renovating your house, move to the same house down the street, and take it from 300 to 500 over the next few years. Do that 3 times, boom, free house. No problem. All right, I lost my train of thought, but I had to jump in there and get all excited for a second. Fred's installing vinyl plank in the kitchen. Is there a reason to lift cabinets and install all the way to the wall, or just past the kick plate, or either okay? It's vinyl. Fred, it don't move. Vinyl does not expand and contract. Not worth talking about, okay? So, like, do whatever you want with it. You can go up to the cabinet, just under the cabinet. You can put vinyl right to the wall. It doesn't make a difference. Whatever's easiest for you is the one you should do. Cheers. All right. Woo! Hey, and I just got a phone call because I'm too stupid to put the old airplane mode on. Can you believe that, eh? Oh my goodness. Let me just take 2 seconds. Make sure that I am not going to be harassed. There we go. All right. I'm just getting information here about pricing on wood. Yeah, it doesn't matter which one. Pick the cheapest. They're all going to be good. You just need flat. You need something you can screw down and mix it flat. Because the old stuff that you're dealing with on your subfloor, it cups and curls as it dries. That's all. So you need to put something down flat. Isn't code on OSB floor and sheathing 1932? It's got nothing to do with code if you're putting on engineered hardwood. All he's got to do is get it flat. Okay, that's all. If you're doing tile, yeah, there's code requirements. But for engineered hardwood, the existing is good enough. It's just not good enough. You know what I mean? All right, let's go back here. Where are we here, baby? Let's go down a little bit. Let's go, done. Let's go down. We're going to miss some people here. I got a lot of catching up to do. That's okay. Keep going down to the yellow one. Right here. Arthur is back. Adding to the beer fund. I'm just drinking Gatorade tonight, guys. Thanks again. I'm working on something. Yep. If you'd like to see beautiful Amish country, Pennsylvania, happy to have you up there to fix the debacle here. You know, I wish I was in a business and had a budget and a television crew where we could travel around helping people, but that's not the way it works quite yet. The best I can do is armchair quarterback, but thank you for that. All the best with your renovation. And you'll be all right. You know, there are worse situations out there in life than to have a house that needs to be renovated. Just saying, you know, that is not that much of a challenge in the grand scheme of things. You are going to be just fine. Now, let's go down a little bit further. Yeah, Michael Herman. Let's see if he's got a question, baby, because that's a super chat. Here we go. Hey, Jeff, love the channel. Keep doing what you do. Been watching the basement reno and wondered how you would handle a floor drain. Got one in a corner, basement floor slopes, trying to put in LVP. Yeah, that's a hell of a thing. We get this question a lot because back in the old days, basements had to have a drain in it according to code, right? And then you'd have to have a laundry sink or something that was primed and had a little 1/4-inch line that went to that drain to keep water going into that P-trap so the sewer gases wouldn't come out. Somewhere along the way, somebody woke up and said, wow, this drain idea is stupid, because it keeps flooding people's basements out. And the people will renovate, and then that line is gone, and then the sewer gases come in, and then if it dries out, well, then the rats walk in. And so here's what I recommend for people with older houses. Get yourself an extension on that pipe, and then use leveling concrete, okay? Do not cover over it, especially if you have to go and add water to it once a month, okay? Or you're going to run into major trouble. Extend your pipe and put in a backflow preventer valve if you don't have one on your main line. All right. That'll keep, when they're washing the lines out with the city trucks, they don't accidentally pump 5,000 PSI into your basement. That happens. You know, so put a backflow preventer valve on it and then raise that up, and then just use floor leveler just in the area. Okay. And hopefully you don't need too many bags, because that stuff can get expensive. All right. Cheers. Back to Pittsburgh. Thinking of building a barn door style window shutters instead of blinds and curtains. Okay, that's interesting. Same concept, 2 sliding shutters, right? Any weight, structural considerations you recommend? You know what? Honestly, for the hardware rail for that, just remember that windows usually have king studs on them. They go floor to ceiling, and that's right next to the window jamb. And then other than that, you know, everything in between can be all over the place. It might be a header. It might just be a couple of ladder studs. So use a stud finder. make a measurement, mark it off, and then install it like a nice piece of 1x4 finished or something, right? And put that on, and then screw right into the studs, and then mount your hardware to that. So that way your hardware can be attached to lumber that's then attached to structure, because you don't want to cheap out and start going into drywall plugs, or a few months from now, one of them is going to work its way loose and it's going to fall on somebody's head, and you're going to be like, "Rah!" And then the wife will be like, "Why didn't you just do what Jeff said?" All right, there you go. Arthur wants to know, how about can light boxes in a thermopan rerun plenum? Not a fan. I'm not a fan of can lights anywhere nowadays because A, they're huge and they're unnecessary. Always go with LED. Slimline LED, you can put anywhere. And if you have to create framing for it, you don't need much. You can get away with like 1 inch of space. All right. So consider LED, slimline LED. You can put 100 on one circuit. They hardly take any power. They don't overheat and start fires. And so, yeah, plenum, heat, not a fan. You're going to be dealing with condensation issues there, okay? Because cold air return is usually cold and the light will get hot. So I would say no. All right. Never even considered doing that before. Generally speaking, your HVAC should not become a highway for your mechanical, as a rule of thumb. Okay? Especially if it creates heat. Jeff, love the new box beam deck video. How do you suggest building steps for a 24-inch high deck to a 36-inch high patio door exit in Ottawa? That's a great question. I bet I have a video coming up on that in the next week or two. Yeah, basically what I did is I built the deck. The platform at the house that I was at, the one step down was the height of the deck. So I made them both to come to the same point so that they can move independently. Okay, because one's attached to the house and one isn't. And that was my secret. If you want to add stairs to that scenario, what you want to do is take like a rail, okay, with like good solid exterior gate hardware hinges, and attach that to your stair. So then you're going to have a platform and stairs that are on a hinge. And in the wintertime, if your deck opens up, it opens like a door and it sits back down again. So it's not pulling on the house. Okay. You just can't attach all those elements together, but it's okay if they move independently. So on a hinge, you can solve that problem, and you can hide it inside the wood. You can mortise it out a little bit. No one will even know it's there. All right. Cheers. That's a good question. Man, we should do a Habit for Humanity build. By we, I mean you instruct, we receive free instruction, and someone gets a house. I'm not against this at all. Listen, it's logistics, right? I come from Canada. I'm in the United States on a work visa. Getting insurance as a commercial contractor down here was tricky, just on my own bloody house. So we're working on it. We are working on solidifying some visa requirements and company registration requirements and licensing and insurance. I'm looking into becoming a licensed contractor in the state of Florida. Whatever I have to do to get this job done, we're going to do. So just got to be patient with this. But step one was to work on something I've never seen before, and that was this trailer. And I'm really excited to get these videos to you. But step two is to figure out how to make sure that we can continue to travel and expand our opportunities so we can take advantage of wonderful opportunities like that. That does sound like a really interesting idea, though, to be honest with you. I haven't come up with that one yet, which is amazing because sometimes I don't sleep thinking of crazy ideas that I can do. All right. Betty knows Chicago, 100-year-old home. I love how you guys do this. You're all trained. You know, tell me where you live. Tell me how old your house is. Tell me the specifics and then ask a question. Love you, Betty. This is awesome. Chicago, 100-year-old home. Basement walls are 3 feet of foundation, and the rest is exterior walls. There's no insulation. Yeah, you don't need insulation. It's not windy and cold in Chicago. I'm starting from scratch. How do I insulate 2 types of wall? Haha, got it. Okay. So, yeah. So you've got a 3-foot foundation, stone footer, and then you've got regular frame walls on top. Here's how you insulate anything, guys. All ready? You have to insulate continuously. So if you have different surfaces, you go up one surface and you continue all the way along with your insulation. And if Chicago requires a vapor barrier, which I think they might double check, Betty, with your local building code people, okay? Then make sure your vapor barrier is continuous as well. So whatever your code requirement for insulation in Chicago is, you put that on the wall. you put that on the transition, and then you build that on the next wall as well. That's all you got to do. It's that simple. Okay. And you might be able to get away with rigid foam on the stone. Okay. That'll give you like R10 with one layer, and it'll give you R20 with a second layer if that's good enough. But double check. It's not even just the city, and Chicago can mean a lot of things, right? Check your local building officer, get in touch with them, go down to the office if you want to and say, hey, here's a picture of my house. I'm going to insulate this. Do I need a permit to insulate my house? And if so, then they'll tell you how to satisfy that permit, and that'll be your solution right there. Otherwise, make sure your installation is continuous. And that'll be very effective. Oh, my goodness. Matt wants to know, he's in a basement with floating walls. Is there anything special you need to do when installing a subfloor? Yeah, you got to make sure that you don't eliminate that space for the floating wall. That's the trick, because it floats because you have expansive soil. And when that does happen, if you have material in between the plate and the concrete that wasn't designed to be there when the walls were built, then you're going to have a compression issue and you're going to potentially damage your house. So subfloor in that environment should be specific to where the flooring has the ability to lift up. Man, those are the trickiest basements in the world. I don't even know why people want to do it, but good luck with you. That sounds like a lot of fun. Do I think removing popcorn ceiling is a nightmare? No, it's a party. It's an excuse to call a couple of friends over and have a drink and make a mess. Not a big deal, my friend. Not a big deal at all. Just wear a proper mask and maybe even glasses. Don't worry about it. It's just dirt. It all washes off. The only thing you got to watch out for is if it has asbestos in it, okay? And if that's a concern for you, just scrape a little bit, have it tested at the local lab. You can call your city. They'll tell you how to do that. All right? Building office will give you information. And if you have asbestos, then you can either do it like I do it, open a window, put on a fan, and wear a mask, or you can call in a professional extraction team. Yeah, that's up to you. I'm not going to tell people what to do with their life, but in my world, I'm all about production, not safety, because I can make twice as much money in a production mindset than I can in my same lifetime with a safety mindset. And I'm not just trying to pay the bills and break even when I die. I'm trying to leave something behind for my family. And if you're like me, then you're probably more production minded. And I don't care if I make it to 74 or 84. I ain't being that productive then anyway. So if the way I live my life takes me out a little earlier, I'm good with that. I just don't want to leave 84 or 94 and be out of money and not have anything to leave behind. It's counterproductive to live a long life like that. What the hell? You're spending money every day. You're not working. Who wants that? I'm going to have a hammer in my hand when day I die. I'll tell you right now. Next. Michael, Jeff, love the channel. Keep doing what you do. Been watching the basement reno. Wondered how you would handle a floor drain. We already answered that question. Yeah, I made you go down and answer that. That's awesome. And Mike did a super chat here. He's got a question too. Why does my floor bounce? In my office, when someone walks, I feel a bounce in my office chair. In the kitchen, living, there's a huge vibration. It's a 2-year-old house. Can I fix it? Wow. A bouncing floor on a 2-year-old house. I'd love to know where you live, Mike. Honestly, can you fix it? There is nothing inherent about a bouncing floor that doesn't scream lack of structure. The only way you can fix a bouncing floor is to add more structure, like put a beam halfway across the ceiling to carry load so it doesn't bounce. So the answer is yes, but do you really want to? Well, that's where we are with that. There's not a whole lot you can do to the floor above and beneath to make it stronger. Now, you can call a structural engineer. They might recommend dropping the drywall and then add strapping in the way of 2x4s and screwing all that together. And that might be able to help stiffen it up. But I don't know what to extent because I'm not on site and I don't know how big your span is. I don't know if your house was built properly. It's a lot. I don't know about that situation. But I do know that bouncing floors are not normal on 2-year-old homes. Let's put it that way. Okay? Wow. Here we go. Matt, my house is driving me crazy. Literally everything, room, floor, every inch of my house, the floors squeak. Okay. Well, then rip it out and put new floors down. It's just because your house is old enough that all the subflooring is nailed down, okay? And in between all the joists, the subfloor moves. And then when it goes down, the sides go up, the nails come out, and then the wood's rubbing on the nails, it squeaks. Yeah, last summer I had supplemental beams and jacks put in. I fell for the contractor scam that it would fix the squeaks. No, it's not going to fix nothing. All right, here, a little, you got a pen I can throw at me for a second, Mom? Here we go. Yeah, all right, ready? Subfloor, nail, joist, okay? Watch this. You step in the middle, this is what happens. I'm being exaggerating here, okay? It's called deflection, and then deflection. Now look at the nail. Every time you step on it, deflection. The noise is the subfloor moving against the nail. Okay? I don't care how much structural support you put underneath. From one joist to the next, subfloor always has deflection. That's why when we tile, we want to laminate another layer of subfloor so that there's reduces the deflection enough that the tile won't crack. So you could have filled your basement with concrete right to the floor joist. You'd still have a squeaky floor. That's what I'm saying. They scammed you. Bastards. And they knew it. And guys like that, enjoy the furnace. All right. Wow, that pisses me off. Sandy's in the house. Late to the chat room. Oh, you got to like it. There you go. And Betty knows just said, thank you, Jeff. You're flipping awesome. Okay. I'm just Jeff. I am what I am. Some people love me. Some people still don't even like me. I don't know how that's. It's the internet, folks. You get what you get. Jura, we need a question. Where are we? Is it normal for a new house to have a floor bounce when jumping? Yes. There's always deflection on a new floor. Unless it's tile, then you have a problem. There's always going to be some deflection. The thing is on new floors, we don't get squeaks because we screw it all down. But the middle still has a little movement, okay? Don't be too freaked out. It's only a 5/8 subfloor in most cases, and that's not enough to stop deflection. So flooring like carpet or vinyl or vinyl plank or even laminate or whatever, it's all going to move, and that's fine. It's made for that. Don't be concerned. Joe, northeastern U.S. 1950 cinder block wall basement. I already know about every one of your problems. Baby, can I get another one of these? That'd be awesome. Thank you so much. Best ways to remedy the humidity and the smell in an unfinished basement in the summer without digging a massive trench around the entire house to waterproof it. Okay, yeah, there's two things. Joe, you got to do two things. Your water's coming through the wall and the floor. That's the thing. So digging the big trench will solve the water problem because you can waterproof the outside of the wall. And the other option is, and I know this sounds crazy, but you can actually put a French drain on the inside around the perimeter. You open up the concrete, you put in a pipe, and then from that pipe, you put a vapor barrier that goes over the pipe and then up the wall. So all the moisture that comes in is redirected into a pipe, into a pump, and then pumped in. That solves the wall. So you can do it from the inside. And sometimes it costs about the same money, but it's better because it's not as disruptive if you have an unfinished basement to do it from the inside than it is from the outside. If you have like gardens and a deck and then front steps, and you have to rip that all apart and then reinstate it all. So that can be really comprehensive. And then the second thing you got to do is you want to put all that up to a pump, and you want to use it to a sump pump. A lot of 50s homes don't have sump pumps. Put in a pump well, get the pump low as you possibly can. Keep the water line down underneath the house, all right? And then when you go to put your finished flooring on, the way you do this is you set up a subfloor system that has an air chamber in it so that any humidity that gets through into that air chamber is then redistributed right up through the side, behind the walls, into the foundation, out through the house again. And run a dehumidifier. Air conditioning is the best situation for that. Run a dehumidifier. 1950s just does not have the waterproofing that you need, and some water tables make them really unbearable. But a little bit of effort, a little bit of investment, you can make it a livable space. The question is it worth it? And in most cases, the answer is no. You have to have a 50s house in a neighborhood that gets you really good return on investment. Now, if you're doing it because you just want to have the space, you're not planning on moving, and you don't care about return on investment, then don't cheap out or you'll be miserable and you're going to create mold and you're going to create problems that you're not going to want to have. So either keep it concrete and turn it into a place for the kids to play hockey, or go all in. Because if you cut corners on a situation like that, it's going to mold out and you're going to be disappointed. 10 years from now, you'll be ripping it out and you're going to have mold floating through the whole house and everybody's getting sick. Okay. And it's just not worth it. Take care of your family, dude. Cheers. All right. Mike said he had to join. Super chats were getting expensive. Listen, I gave you the option. Membership is $5, guys. I mean, maybe even $7 if you join on an iPhone. So be careful with that. There's a thing out there. They want a cut of the action too. So, that's, I don't even know what's going on with that. Use your computer or an Android. Okay. Mike says, can I use the same oil-based products to seal a pressure-treated fence deck as you show in your videos using cedar? Yes, and yes, and yes. I am loving C2 Guard. Okay. Buy it. The next video that comes out, we're going to be showing you how to use that stuff. The previous video we showed, we have a link. Buy C2 Guard. If you're in Canada, find a C2 dealer. There's one in Ottawa. His name is Mark. He's right down there at Bank Street at the 417. Randall's Paint. Okay. Go get this stuff. And if you're in the United States, they actually have a service. They'll ship it direct to your house. Use it. I got you a 20% off code. So by all means. And who cares about the money? It's just such a good product. Like, you're welcome getting the discount and all, but I'd be buying it full price anyway because it's just that good. Okay. Mike is going, he lives in Colorado. Yeah, I know you're living in Colorado. I love that. Engineered joist. Yep. 19-inch span to the metal I-beam. Yep. It's only when walking in certain areas. Yeah. Okay, I get it. It's all about deflection. Okay. So in certain areas, you're going to get more than others. And that's going to be because of this tongue and groove and it's OSB. And that is life, right? There's not much we can do about it. If you don't want deflection in your flooring, then take a look at your floor joist package and remove your flooring and put in engineered hardwood, nice wide long planks, and it can span the gap and it'll get rid of all that deflection for you. So you can upgrade the quality of the flooring in the house. But I wouldn't really do that until it was time to change the flooring. Get your money's worth out of that stuff. All right, baby. Yeah, I did that. Have some beer money. Oh, I didn't read the joke. All Canadians I know love beer. Guilty as charged. Also, do you know how they came up with the name for Canada? They just put a bunch of letters in a hat and pulled out some CANADA. No, actually, it's a part of a native language which meant village, Canada. Yeah. So anyway, woo! Look at Mr. History Man. I'm probably wrong, but it was in a commercial that the government put out, so I'm guessing they know what they're talking about. What's the best way to, we have a city in Ottawa, just outside, it's called Canada with a K. And it's basically Canada, but spelled different. It's the same thing. It means village. What's the best way to install a freestanding tub? Upside down, I always found. Freestanding tub. Okay, so freestanding tubs have had a dramatic change. Back in the early days, freestanding tubs, you had to open up the ceiling underneath and then connect the plumbing the old-fashioned way. After the fact. Nowadays, for installing a freestanding tub, they've got new drain assemblies. They've got new flanges that you can install on your plumbing that are flush with your floor, and you can drop the pipe right into it, and they self-seal. So there's a lot of really cool stuff out there. But as far as keeping it from flipping over as you're climbing in and stuff like that, if it's a two-piece kit, they're going to give you a shell with leveling feet. Okay, and then once you've got it leveled, then I would suggest using a drill and drilling right through the tile that you're on. Okay, drill out the hole like you're mounting a shower glass door and put in some anchor bolts. If it's right on the floor, you can use silicone. That'll be fine too. So that works. Joe, the other thing is put water in it first. Right? Like who climbs into a tub empty? That's dangerous. Put water in it first so it's not moving anywhere. Literally, that's the best system. Joe, he's got a 1960 single-family home in Maryland. Nice. You're probably near the bloody water, too, because, they didn't build those things away from the water. I'm converting a small walk-in closet to a vault room. Nice. Can the 2x4 framing support layers of 3/4 inch ply, 1/2 inch hardy, and 5/8 drywall on both sides? Yeah. 2x4 can carry like 1,000 pounds each. So no worries. Screw away. Don't even think about it. All right. Don't even think about it. Think about this. Back in the old days, we used to attach TVs on those wall mounting brackets on the 2x4s when they weighed like 300 pounds. Didn't even think about that, right? Now, the truth is kitchen cabinets are mounted on 2x4s with like just a couple of screws, and they carry all the weight of all the dishes, right? So, yeah, you're fine. Do not worry about it. Jesse fixed a bad repair job in my drywall with your videos and a few bucks in tools and mud. Good man. Even managed to feather a couple of butt joints. Just wanted to drop by and say thanks for the teaching. Cheers, Jesse. I'm glad it was helpful. It's nice to hear when people are being successful, man. That is awesome. All right. Wow, another 60s basement. You know, here's the thing. We got two options with all the houses built in 1950, 1960, right? We can bulldoze them or we can fix them. Fix them is a lot cheaper. And a cute old 50s or 60s house is usually in a really great neighborhood, like location-wise. Like, think about it. When there was lots of room and everybody wanted to live near the water, where did they build? Right? So, by all means, buy an old 50s house, original condition, gut it, rebuild it, make a fortune. You can go from $200 a square foot to $450 in the St. Petersburg, Tampa area. $500 a square foot. And that doesn't even sound like much to people in California and New York, but yeah, in Florida, that's some damn good money for a house. All right, so you got a half basement built in 1960 and have taped a bag to both the floor and the wall several times during the year, and there's no moisture underneath or on top of the bag. Am I good to finish? That's creative. There is more than one thing that dictates whether or not you got moisture, and the age of the home is not the only factor, which is why we do the bag test. I would say, yeah, if you don't have a moisture problem, then treat your house like you don't have a moisture problem, right? But you still have a thermal issue. So you might want to have a thermal break on your floor anyway. So depending on and you know, groundwater isn't the only kind of water that a basement's going to find one day. So it doesn't hurt to have a subfloor system, or at least do the dry core thermal insulated panel that has the groove track. So that and I don't know where you live here, unfortunately, dude. So I can't tell. But if you get a winter, you get freeze thaw cycles. There's a lot of ways water can get in the house. Just consider that as well when you're thinking. Protect yourself in case you get a watery event. It doesn't take much, and if it can't dry out, it's going to mold something, right? So keep that in mind. It's not just about humidity; it's about water events that we're trying to manage. And they can be every 30 to 50 years when you get that one bad storm. So consider that. It's the life cycle of you're building a 50-year product. Think about the whole life cycle. Don't be like a contractor going, if I can get through 12 months, I'm free and clear. Think about the whole life cycle, okay? All right, Jamie, are damaged shingles above the soffit worth worrying about, or can they be put off until a total roof replacement in 5 years? Wow. If they're above the soffit, then you probably are calling me because you live in an area where you're getting some ice and snow, okay? And you're getting some ice damming going on. If that's the case, then go buy yourself a box of shingles and go up and replace them if they're damaged and if they're falling off. But as long as they're there and they're damaged, it shouldn't be an issue, okay? There should be ice and water shield underneath it. I don't know the age of your home, but shingles that get stuck in ice when it freezes and thaws end up curling up a lot more aggressively than the rest of the house. But underneath of it should be a membrane to protect the house from water and ice damage. So the shingles might prematurely damage ahead of the rest of the roof. So yeah, check, get up on a ladder and have a look. See if you got a membrane. If you don't have a membrane, it's a concern because it's just the only thing that's moving the water off the roof is those damaged shingles, right? And it doesn't take much to replace a couple of lines of shingle. Just saying. You can call a handyman out and he can do that for you off a ladder. Because I don't like working on a ladder doing shingles, I'd probably pay for someone to do it too. Look at me preaching DIY, and I don't want to get on a ladder to do roofing. All right. Jeff, thanks for answering my deck steps question. are there any code requirements on Ottawa for 2 to 3 deck steps from the patio doors to the deck? Boy, if you really want to be picky, there is. Because it sounds like you're going to be 4 feet off the ground, so you need railings. And that's really what that comes down to. Any change in the plane, one plane to the next, that's more than 2 feet needs railings. Okay? So 3 steps is 2 feet, and you're right on the edge. And you already have railings on your landing because you're higher enough off, you need those. So adding railings to that is probably going to be a necessity. Again, don't attach it to the railing and to the deck. Keep it attached only to the stairs. Okay? Yeah. Boy, yeah, really, you sure you don't want to just throw in a couple of helical piles and build a deck on top of that? If your house is that high off the ground, you're kind of you're in a gray zone. So as long as nobody falls and sues you, or you catch what I'm saying? Boy, living in the gray, baby, loving it. I would love to see governments get even more out of our space when it comes to our houses, especially when we're building outside. I'd love to see them just getting a little bit more far removed, but generally once governments have power, they never go backwards. So this is why we're in the mess we're in, right? People are leaving California left, right, and center. And it's not because of whatever you think it is. It's because they have an old house and they can't get a contractor to fix it. And they're not allowed to touch it without a building permit. And who the hell are they to do any work? They don't know the code. They're not electricians. They can't even, out in California, you guys all know, if you're watching the show and you're out there, let me know. But if an inspector comes down your street and sees a fence that's not up to code, they go knock on your door and give you a work order. Who needs that kind of government sniffing in your business? I'm just saying. They probably have rules out there about how old your car's allowed to be, too. God help you all. But yeah, hey, if you enjoy living in a place like that, then enjoy it. I know there's lots of people who prefer to make sure that all the neighbors kept all the rules all the time. That's fine. It's not my cup of tea. My goodness. Next, building a horizontal fence modeled after your farmhouse video. Okay, got it. Could I use camo system to attach boards to posts if I'm concerned about adhesive brad nails holding it up, or am I worried about nothing? Nah, go ahead, use it. 5 years before that, I did a horizontal fence using camo screws. Works great. Yeah, no worries. Great idea. I just, why do the same thing twice? So I just did an alternative for people who are just looking for a little privacy fence or something, right? That's cool. By the way, I drove by that the other day. It's 3 years now? Yeah, looks perfect. For everybody who said, oh, it's going to work. Do not underestimate the power of PL Premium. I'm just saying. All right, next. Thomas, Chief, I have a planned shed. Called me Chief. This is fun. And the look Max's shed. Yeah, but want to avoid a concrete slab. Got it. Want to make it 8x14. Concrete costs. So was planning on creating a base on pier blocks. Sure. No problem. Spanning every 4 feet in every direction with a post to transfer load. Sure. And you're just going to throw up some pressure treated plywood or something on that? It'll work great. No worries. By all means. Listen, there's no, this is the way to do it. It's just that there's an option. Yours is a good option. Go ahead. Enjoy your bill, bud. Cheers. Betty knows, as far as raising my house value, is adding something like insulation, something not inspected during purchasing. Is that just cleaning up previous crappy work, or is there still a payout at selling? Okay, so here we come. Betty, you can do an energy audit on your house. Most governments will do something like that for free. Okay, they'll send somebody out, they'll give you a rating, they'll say, here's your energy audit, here's all the things that are substandard to today's code, and almost always optional to fix it. Okay, depending, unless you live in California, then who only knows. But the point is, they'll tell you all the things like that. So then when you're done all your upgrades, you can do the energy audit again. And in a lot of cases, energy audit increases. You can apply for credits, tax breaks, and discounts and rebates. So really look into it with where you live. A lot of governments are giving energy audits and energy rebates incentives for people to do that kind of work. Okay. Because, our grids are stretched, and anything we can do to reduce the amount of energy we have to put in a house, governments are all about that because it cuts down the cost of their investment. So they're all on board with that. Or it's just virtue signaling so they can look like they're trying to save the planet. I don't care. If you need insulation, get an energy audit and then find out if you can get a deal. But at least then when you go to sell the house, you can say, here's my new energy audit. This is the old one. Boom. And if the guy that they're comparing your house to doesn't have one done, then that's a deal breaker for them and they'll buy your house. Sometimes value is just by getting the sale, right? I don't know what the real estate market will look like when it's time for you to sell, but I do know that a house that has bad drafts and high energy bills isn't worth buying. And if I'm buying a house and someone claims to have renovated it, I'm going to go to the supplier of the energy of whatever that system is, and I'm going to find out what their average bill was. I'm going to compare that to the guy down the street and find out whose house was renovated properly. Because I know you can renovate a house really effectively and spend $1,000 a year for heat up north where I'm from, or you can spend $5,000. So if I'm buying a house, I want one that's $1,000, not $5,000, because I don't like living with a sweater in my house in the wintertime with the heat cranked up and still feeling freezing cold. Yo, Mary, welcome to the channel. Good to see from you again. Here we go. Look at this. Where are we now? Joe, recommendations for good solar outdoor security lights. The ones I tried still get water inside, even though I silicone sealed the seams. Yeah. Bloody Chinese crap. Yeah. You probably, I know I don't have one. Sorry. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm putting in outdoors. It's an outdoor light. It's solar. I'm putting it on my 3-inch post out here. I won't have a recommendation on that for months. And I'll probably sell the house and then move on to fixing something else. No, I don't have a good recommendation. What I do have is I have a recommendation on where to shop. And that is a dedicated light fixture store. Okay? Don't go to the box stores for that kind of product. Go to someone whose only business is selling light fixtures, because they'll have all the other quality products that are on the marketplace for you that the box stores aren't carrying. Okay. They're only selling stuff that comes over here in a container, built as cheap as possible to keep the price down to sell to you. That's the best thing I can say about it. Jonathan's from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 1970 house. Want to fill in the step down about 8-inch on a concrete slab. 600 square foot room. Is it cheaper to do concrete or wood? Well, that's a good question. And a lot of that has to do with, are you comfortable doing concrete? Right? If you're comfortable filling it with concrete and you can get a truck over there and then you can get the price per yard, I would say concrete may be pretty competitive. The only real question is if you do concrete, you've got to really seal it, because you don't want water to get in underneath it somehow with some accident and then have to remove the concrete in order to remediate the water. That's the only issue I'd have. I'd be really thinking about drainage, and if it gets wet, is it going to dry? That would be my only concern. Other than that, my first thought would be just put wood there. No big deal, right? Because you can make it perfectly flat. You're in complete control with the wood. With concrete, I don't know. I haven't done enough concrete to really know when it does dry, does it actually swell a little bit or does it shrink? I'm not sure. Because when you're dealing with trying to make something flush, 1/16 of an inch is a big deal. And I wouldn't want to be the guy grinding that down. All right. Anyway, moving on. I'm not a concrete expert. If you want to get an answer for that, ask Odell Concrete. He's on YouTube. He does some great work. He's been posting videos for years. Go into his chat and see if he answers questions, Jonathan. That might be really good. And then, maybe that's one of these guys we should put on the list for someone to bring on the channel one of these days. talk to some of these YouTube experts that are out there that are running construction companies. I'd be interested to have him join us and answer some questions. That'd be fun. Cal, how are we different? We're 15 minutes left, guys. This is awesome. Woo! Let's keep going with the Gatorade. Cal, hey, Michigan location. Have my basement waterproof with French drains inside and out. Really? Okay. Plastic walls and sump pump. Got it. Company tied in discharge to main sewer line. Should I move discharge to outside lawn? No, the main sewer line is fine. The only concern I have, and it's just for me. I like to upgrade my sewer line when I'm doing that kind of work to put in a backflow preventer valve. And that's basically, it's a valve that sits like this. And if the water's all running one way, it stays there. But if the water comes the other way, it catches the valve and flips it over shut so that it can't have sewer water back into the house. All right? That's what I'd want to know. Because there's a lot of benefits for having that valve installed outside of whether or not it's a good idea to have French drains on that system. So I'd leave it all tied together, but I'd want a backflow valve. Jamie, his home is in Northern Ontario. Brr, 70s. Oh, shingles are in one piece, but the surface looks chipped. Got it. Okay. Yeah, 70s home. Ice and water shield was not building code. If your roof is original to 1970, wow, I'm impressed. It probably got redone sometime around 2010, maybe 2015. So this is how it works. If they did it in 2010, they would put ice and water shield if they had any integrity at all. But you still got to look. Okay? Integrity is not something you're born with. Or maybe it is, and we lose it by the time we're 5. But they sure don't expect any from you in school. They passed you with a 50% grade after all. All right. Generic Putin. Okay, whatever. Oh, dude, you make me laugh. Hi, Jeff. I am AJ, not Putin, though my home is in the corner of Moscow and Russia Street in beautiful San Francisco. Love it. Can you please come here so I don't have to watch you at 3:30 a.m. every night? Oh, that's funny. All right. No, who knows? I might end up in California at some point, but it's going to be tough for me to do DIY in a state where I'm not allowed to pick up a screwdriver. Just saying. I know there's a lot of folks out in California who watch our show, and my message to you would be, just be careful if you're renovating without a permit out there. It's okay to get a permit as a homeowner. Just make sure you're real careful if you are not getting one. That's my best advice. What would be the best engineered hardwood? Laminate for floor on the OSB on plank? Question from earlier. Okay, engineered hardwood or laminate. It doesn't make a difference. Here's where it makes a difference. Both are a floor, both will be flat, both will perform just fine in your scenario. Engineered hardwood will provide you more value on resale. So depending on the value of your home and the values of the homes in the neighborhood, you get to make that decision for yourself. But if you're going to put in a good laminate that costs a couple bucks a square foot, wood starts at around 5 or 6. So you almost triple your cost on your material for that step of the project. If it is a budget issue or, at all, then go laminate and don't worry about it. They make some really good stuff. Like laminate got a bad rep because people were using it in the wrong location. They were using it in wet areas. They were using it in kitchens and stuff in basements. Had no business being there. All right. So, people were selling laminate to people to put in their basement and not tell them to put it in subfloor systems. Like, that's just stupid, right? And they were just selling you a floor that they knew was going to go to garbage, and you're going to have to come buy another floor. And the majority of people back in the day when laminate was first coming out were using laminate to put on a house that they were going to sell. Okay? They had no concern about the integrity of the build. Kind of like flippers today, right? The flipper stories out there still, it's just unbelievable. That's why I love the fact that I'm making video of everything I do. Yeah, I'm going to sell it when I'm done at some point, but I'm not flipping it. I'm actually renovating this pig. It's going to be the best house in the whole city. All right. Sandy has a question. Maybe showing your age. I doubt it. But I just realized Jeff is at 2.75 million subs. Wow. Where's the party going to be when he hits 3? Do I have to plan a party? I haven't thought about that. That's like, what is that? 250. Oh, man. 4, 10. It's still a few months away. I haven't thought about a party. I'll tell you what. I'll have a party at 10, and everyone's invited. How's that? We'll rent out a place, and I don't know. Well, maybe like a big farm field. We'll do Woodstock or something. Tim Leahy. Whoo. Hey, Jeff, we have a home built in Illinois 2020, already having squeaking floors on the first floor of the home, mostly under carpet. Saw your floor screw video, but did not sold in U.S. Any suggestions? Yes. Okay. So we have subfloor screws. You guys have construction screws. That's the only difference. Okay. So go out and buy yourself a box of 1 3/4 inch, I think is what they call it, construction screws, and use those. And you can screw down all your subfloor. The fact that you have subfloor built in 2020 that's squeaking means they didn't use subfloor adhesive and screws, they use nails. Shame on that builder. Hell is hot, my friend. Catch up, because the rest of the world is way ahead of that construction technology. It's unfair to be making homes like that for people. We do better than that. That sucks. All right. 9 minutes to go. Joe wants to know, is it a good idea to run a backflow valve for a cesspool house? Well, that is a hell of a question. I would say don't throw good money after bad. And I would also say don't bother investing in renovating the basement if that's the case. Right? Until it's not a cesspool, don't worry about it. Like, what does cesspool mean? And I need dollar value. I need to know why you want to renovate the basement. Why do you want to have moisture control? Like, what is the ultimate goal here? And does it make any sense? Not every house you can turn into a palace, right? Obviously. Anyway. Okay, going back to your last live stream. Any other suggestions of where else to buy the melamine for closet shelving instead of box stores? Going to start renovating our master closet in coming weeks. You know, oddly enough, that's one of those things that kind of comes under the heading of building material. They're one of the only guys in town that carry it. So they're probably the best price on it. Now, you can go to cabinet makers. Cabinet makers actually have their own suppliers out there with their own plywood and everything. I know. Who knew? I mean, but you're going to have to do all your own edge banding. That's the only thing. So the fact that Home Depot is selling pre-edge banded shelves. Now, if you're a cabinet maker and you're like, oh, I got a place, then please put in the comments. Let us know. But I generally don't make a lot of cabinets, so I've never really shopped in those locations very often. I know that in Ottawa, we have, who do we have? There's a couple of guys. One of them is Richelieu. Richelieu's into cabinet hardware, but they also in the back sell a lot of cabinet making products. They generally don't like to sell to the public yet. So, you know, if that's changed, Richelieu, then shout me out and let me know. I'd love to know if you open to the public yet. Because you know what? Their money is still pretty darn green last time I checked. Yeah, Mitch, apparently you got to plan the party. It's going to have to be epic. Like epic. Like ambulances on standby, epic. Right? Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so if the basement's going to remain unfinished, hangout area at best, then don't worry about it. Because if you do flood over and your basement gets full of sewage, it's usually less than 6 inches or so. And then it's easy to mitigate if it's unfinished, right? It's just bleach and a shop vac. So don't worry about it. Don't spend the money on it. All right. Concrete can take a lot of abuse, my friend. And that is the best way to do it. Great place for hockey. And throw a TV on a wood crate and then sit in an old chair and relax, chill out. Nothing wrong with that. John. Floor screws are in the U.S. Just got some at Lowe's. Really? Okay. Didn't see them. I was at the Home Depot just over here the other day, and they didn't have any floor screws. All they had was construction. So now I got to go to Lowe's to check that out. That would be cool to know. Maybe it's just regional. I don't know. All right. Yeah. Epic is right. Okay, guys, it's 6:54. Thanks for coming to hang out tonight. It's been a blast. Hopefully this was helpful. I'm on holiday for the next 2 weeks. I have Wi-Fi. I'm going to continue in the chat, but if I fall a little behind, be merciful because Daddy needs a break. Yeah, I'm old and tired, but I'm going to get refreshed so we can go hard at it again when I get back. All right. Play a basement plan to do a theater room. Yeah, whenever you're doing a theater room, you really got to consider the rest of the house, not you. It's easy to make the theater room sound good. It's hard to keep the noise from traveling through the rest of the home, right? So if you're putting in pot lights, that's why we did the strapping to create the space. But if you want to go with the resilient channel, that works fine too, right? Resilient channel, before you hang anything, will work more effectively than just hanging it direct to the studs. We have a video coming out, guys, in a few weeks. It's being edited right now with the sound test on that theater room. So it'll be out soon enough. And then you can take a look, and it's an actual in the room. I close the doors, then I go upstairs, the room above it. And you can tell me if the way I built it is good enough for you or not. That's why we did it that way. And if it's not good enough, I can always give you suggestions for your house to help make it even better. Cheers till next time. Thanks for being part of the crew. Thanks for helping making this possible. Thanks, because we're only here because you guys make this happen. You know that. Like, you are such a huge part of making this channel work. It's not even funny. So we love you and thank you for all that. And hopefully we do not disappoint with our social contract to make sure that we give you help and assistance and guidance in all that you do. Keep kicking ass, guys, and we will see you soon in the next live show in a couple weeks. Cheers.